To go back to the federal question for a second, because we know that there's money that's going to go into innovation in the next budget, and it's supposed to support scale up, or so I've been told. So if you had the government in front of you now, you had the minister in front of you, what would you tell him to do with the money right now? If you had millions of dollars to throw at scale up, where would you tell him to put it?
This could be a contentious answer.
I would like it to be, please.
So the Canadian government is making a ton of great investments to build meaningful, lasting technology companies through SNRED, through IRAP, DTAP, there's countless programs. But nowhere along the lines do they ever ask for any of the money back if the company sold to a non-Canadian company. And I just wonder if there's something there. They do? They ask for Shred credit back? They have to, IRAP gets their money back?
Yeah.
But Shred doesn't. Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay, well then maybe it's a moot point, but it just feels like, but if we are investing in, like as Canadians, we're investing in building these thriving companies and developing all this intellectual property, it's like, well, that's an investment, and why isn't the Canadian government's investment being recognized? And they certainly is. It's all predicated on the long-term kind of, let's say, nexus generated through tax revenue, but if the company is sold and people aren't here to do the work anymore, then it's kind of a moot point. So I wonder if there's something there. But again, this comes from somebody who's never taken a dollar, so I come from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. I would actually look to them to invest at the very front end of the process. Canadians are great innovators, but we are not great at scaling up our businesses. And if we were great at scaling up our businesses in a way that, it would actually change what happens within our economy. And so when I think of building up, I think instantly comes up, Scale Up You, because you take all the great ideas, and there's lots of things going on in the education system that's trying to bring it together. But, we do have an opportunity to actually take it to the next level. And I always joke, most people ask me, what's your educational experience, what's your background? And I go, everything I learned in school technically was really nice. I have an accounting degree, I can code, I can read financials, I can code computers, I can design all that stuff, but that's not what I needed in order to scale up a company. And you shouldn't have to waste 5 years of cash in a company to figure it out and to do it, right? So I would actually invest at the very front end of the process in people to learn how to do it.
I love that answer. That's a great answer.
Sarah, there's one other thing that actually could have come to mind too, which is we're not seeing enough kind of, let's say, collaborative programs between industry and the communities. Mm-hmm. And it makes me, I think about the stuff we're doing with, let's say, Girls Learning Code. There's the Take a Hike Youth, the Risk Foundation. There's so many great organizations out there that are really looking to kind of to groom, let's say, the future Canadians, right? Mm-hmm. And what are we doing to kind of bridge that gap? And I think I would imagine even within the universities, our world changes literally every 3 to 4 months. Mm-hmm. It's changing. The rules, about 20% of the rules get thrown out. So how can you actually train somebody mm-hmm. in that world? Right? And I think that we need to see more public-private relationships, and they can't just be for purely recruiting, but there should be meaningful content. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a gap that's being created between industry and let's say the communities and a lot of the educational structures. I think we're trying to kind of figure out awkwardly how to bridge those divides, but it doesn't feel comfortable yet.
Have you seen anything that does look comfortable? Because I'm curious. I think that sounds really a good way to do things.
There's some really interesting things that they're doing in the smaller towns, like through the Kootenay Association of Science and Technology. They have a little more flexibility, I think, in the smaller regions, and maybe a little bit more. There's a little more transparency between the organizations and the colleges and stuff. So I think there's something there, but I can't say I know the perfect model. But I would say there's probably some discovery that we could all have.
What could a university or schools or K-12 education do to help with this process, whether it's scale up or build a more innovative society?
So I went to SFU. It was a great education. I really enjoyed my time at the university. I spent like 7.5 years for a 4-year program. It was awesome. However, I graduated, I didn't know what I was doing. I spent like 3 to 5 years trying to get traction, figuring business out. We finally started figuring it out, especially when we joined an organization called EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, which weirdly is how Greg and I got connected. And Shannon's also, are you part of Y? Anyways, we're YPO, EO?
No, Ace Tech.
Ace Tech, okay. Oh, you're a competitor.
No, they're all.
They're all.
Doing the same thing.
So it was fascinating. I got into EO, and it's in Vancouver. There's 110 members. I think globally there's over 10,000, and it's all these entrepreneurs like sharing ideas and best practices and tips on how to grow and scale a company, and like cutting to the heart and soul of the most important issues inside of an organization. And so in the first 3 years, it was like a fire hose of like information being downloaded, and like I was learning from awesome dudes like Greg, but also hundreds of other people. And I was like, if somebody could package that curriculum up, and they kind of have a little bit in the form of the Vern Hardish book and Scaling Up, but if somebody could package that up and teach it to students, I mean, this is like these are a lot of the exact same tools and skills being deployed at $1 million and $100 million companies, and it's like teachable. It's a system and a process. So I think there's like, in the back of my head, I feel like somebody should package that up and then tie it together more meaningfully. I don't know how, but that's what's been kind of going through my head.
We've launched 4 software companies in the last 18 months. And with those 4 companies, we're hosting them at the foot of SFU in that PMC Sierra building. And so this is what are 50 people working away. And I would say, God, there must be some sort of joint venture opportunity for us to essentially start maybe even rolling some equity into of these companies into what, let's say, the university is doing. And then the other thing I would say is, you know, Traction has touched over 1,000 companies today. Every single one of those companies we've driven technology transformation. And basically, like there are not enough people that understand the new role of technology within functional business. We're still looking towards typical traditional IT to drive the operating systems and business process systems of businesses. But boy, if we could basically, as part of the programs that we did with, let's say, some of the more innovative companies, we said, look, you should also bring on kind of this co-op program with SFU, and we'll work with them and create this as a kind of a real life experience and training. That would be probably pretty interesting. So it's I think the biggest challenge that we're about to face, even in the Salesforce ecosystem, there are 35,000 open administrator jobs in the Salesforce ecosystem in the world today. Next year, there'll be another 10,000, right? And it's just like we are not producing enough people who understand technology and business process, period. And I've yet to see anyone kind of producing a meaningful curriculum around it.
Andrew, are you taking notes?
So I would actually, take it to a different level where I think within our own educational system in, like I would say, grade school, we've lost this thinking, right? We've lost how to think. And I think part of it is to be able to I would start there and pull it all the way through. And it's not, gender related. I'm so far away from that. It's just how we think about doing things. And I think of most of, whether they're entrepreneurs or, hired gun CEOs I work with, somewhere along the lines, they observed, they saw entrepreneurship, they saw leadership, they saw how to think, and usually it's somewhere in their background. And so the more we can share that opportunity, there's, when we go in to build a business, we draw on people who have the same core values, want the same, fit in culture, and we're looking for people who can think, right, and learn at an incredible pace. And that's where I think we need to start. Like when I think of my 11-year-old who's had a business since she was 8, and that wasn't me being involved in that, but she understands a profit and loss statement, a balance sheet. She understands what she has to actually capacity deliver every year in her business. And now she's 11, and she's, I look at that and I go, there's so many other people out there her age that just maybe haven't been exposed. I don't know why she thinks that way, but she does. And I don't say that as a joke. Like I really, I've just been blown away at the thought process. But there's many, and we got to start early.
As you guys likely know, part of its SFU Innovate strategy is around social innovation and doing good. The innovation strategy of Canada is getting a social innovation stream as well. How do you balance scaling up with good in mind? Can you do that from the beginning? Does that come later?
I personally don't think they're any different. Lots of companies I work with who are scaling up, their purpose is to do something socially responsible. One company in particular I'm thinking of is not at a profitable stage. They're so new, but they've still set it up so that X amount of dollars they're generating. They've forecasted all into their plan. And that's why they exist. That's why they attract people. So I don't see it as any different. I see it, that's what we should be doing, right? It's one.
So in the very beginning, we would donate any money that we didn't earn to charities. That was kind of the birth of Traction for Good. We get referral money for referring software to our customers, and it's like, well, we don't really deserve this. We didn't do anything for it, so and I certainly don't want a business dependency on it, so we donated it. And but the challenge with donating it is what we would later realize is like, well, why aren't we giving what we're good at? And so we started doing free work for nonprofits and organizations that were driving social good. And what we found in doing, just giving it away, is it has no value. So then we kind of scratched our heads with, okay, well, wait a second. Okay, so if money did one thing, and then giving the work away, well, it doesn't stick. So now what we do is we actually partner. We basically do capacity grants. And we do want a little bit of skin in the game, but we actually, it's actually probably, I'm just trying to think of how many projects we have on the go at any one time. Let's say probably 10 projects at any one time for nonprofits, where we're actually kind of building capacity and doing capacity grants, working with other charitable organizations for organizations that drive social good. But the next iteration, which is really interesting, is, and to your point, there's actually a tremendous opportunity in serving organizations that are pursuing social good. And so just to kind of give you guys a real business example, we did one project for a Jewish community center down in San Francisco that was worth about $800,000. They came back and said, hey, this is great, but we want now the system to run everything in our operations for our community center. And so we're like looking at this thing going, well, that's like another $1 million. Like, well, funny about that, we don't have another $1 million. We said, well, there's 300 JCCs throughout North America. You're non-competitive. Could you find some friends? And so these guys, well, next thing you know, we signed 3 more, and they are essentially, they funded the launch of a new software company that basically is building a member community center, rec center management platform that'll service over 100,000 organizations across North America at the most optimistic level. So there's a really good example of there's tremendous nexus, and also what's cool is we're providing it even within that business plan at about a quarter of the cost that we would on the commercial side. So you can do good, you can build great businesses, they can be sustainable, and it's just having the conversations as you're kind of going through it. So it's neat. There's good business in nonprofit.
I'm a big fan of Richard Branson. He wrote a book recently about sort of social giving, and he's like, doing good is good for business, and I totally agree with that. And weirdly, it's funny watching entrepreneurs. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who, as they build more and more successful businesses, they care more and more about helping humanity, helping other people. And now with my third business, with even bucket lists, our why is to help 100 million people achieve a life goal. And also weirdly, as we built out this platform, we track data on what most people's goals are inside of our platform. And most people, interestingly, want to give back to the community, want to give back to the world. And so we're weaving that into a part of our product as kind of a marketplace where we're going to connect nonprofits to people who want to do good in the community. So it's weird. It's all kind of weaving together, especially over time. So
you can do good from the start.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I want to end on that very positive note for the formal questions that I have, and I'm guessing that there are a lot of questions from the audience. So does anyone have questions for our panel?